The team that is 2 wins from a championship in New York wasn't really built in New York. It was built years earlier on a college campus outside Philadelphia, because the core of these Knicks, the guys who actually carry them, all won national titles together at the same school. This isn't a coincidence, it's a blueprint, and it might be the smartest roster building idea in modern basketball. Here's the idea in one sentence. Instead of collecting random all-stars and hoping they fit, the Knicks went and re-signed a group of players who had already proven they win together. Same system, same trust, same DNA. So while everyone else gambles on chemistry, New York just bought a chemistry that already existed. Let me show you how deep this goes. This is Game is Culture. Real quick before we dig in, if you like breakdowns that actually explain how teams get built instead of just yelling takes at you, go hit subscribe. It's free and it genuinely helps, so click it. First, the dynasty before the dynasty. Go back to college basketball in the late 2010s. Villanova, coached by Jay Wright, becomes a machine. They win the national championship in 2016 on a buzzer beater. Then they do it again in 2018, dominating the whole tournament. 2 titles in 3 years. And the names on those rosters are about to matter a whole lot to the New York Knicks. Look at who was on those teams. Jalen Brunson, who was the National Player of the Year by 2018. Mikal Bridges, a champion in both 2016 and 2018. Josh Hart, the heart of that first title team. And Dante DiVincenzo, who exploded for the title in 2018. 4 future NBA rotation players, all winning, together, before they could legally rent a car. Now watch the Knicks put the bands back together. It started in 2022. The Knicks signed Jalen Brunson in free agency, a 4-year, $104 million deal that the rest of the league laughed at. They thought New York overpaid for a backup. Instead, Brunson became a top 10 player and the foundation of everything. So that was step 1, plant the Villanova flag. Then they added Josh Hart by trade, a glue guy who does everything the box score struggles to measure. And then came the big one. In 2024, the Knicks traded a small fortune to bring in Mikal Bridges, reuniting him with his old college backcourt. Suddenly, 3 Villanova champions were sharing an NBA locker room again, in the biggest market in the sport. And the price tells you how badly they wanted it. To get Bridges, New York sent Brooklyn 5 unprotected first-round picks. 5. That is the kind of haul you normally give up for a top 5 superstar, not for a 3-and-D wing. So why pay it? Because they weren't just buying Bridges. They were buying the final piece of a chemistry experiment that already worked. Now I know what you're thinking. Reuniting college buddies is a cute story, but does it actually win basketball games? That's the right question. So let's separate the feel-good narrative from what the chemistry actually buys you on the floor. What old chemistry actually does. Here's the real advantage, and it shows up in the margins. Most contenders spend their first 2 seasons just learning each other. Who likes the ball where? Who covers for whom on defense? That feel takes years to build. But Brunson, Bridges, and Hart skipped all of it. They learned to win together a decade ago. So the Knicks started with trust that other teams are still trying to manufacture. You see it in the willingness to sacrifice. A reunited core doesn't fight over shots the same way strangers do. They already know the pecking order because they lived it in college. Brunson runs the show. Hart does the dirty work. Bridges guards the best player and takes what's there. Nobody is auditioning for a bigger role because they already trust what the group can become. Quick interruption, because now's the time. If you're enjoying this, hit subscribe. I'm not going to beg, but I am going to ask, so hit it and I'll keep going. And it's not just 3 role players riding along. Brunson became a genuine superstar, the engine of a finals team. He's the proof of concept for the entire blueprint. You don't build a reunion around a 4th option. You build it around a guy who turned into the best player in the building, and then surround him with the teammates who already believe in him.
Think of it like 2 ways to build a contender. The traditional way, you collect talent and pray it fits. The Villanova way, you start with proven fit and add talent to it. One bets on chemistry showing up later. The other starts with the chemistry already in the bank. New York chose the second path, and it got them to the finals. Now the honest counter, because it exists. Here's where the blueprint can be oversold. Chemistry doesn't grab rebounds or hit threes. Talent still matters most, and if Brunson hadn't blossomed into a star, none of this works. And the Knicks paid a brutal price. 5 first-round picks that could haunt them for a decade if this window closes without a title. Reunion or not, you still have to have the goods. But that's exactly why this version worked. The Knicks didn't reunite a group of nice role players and call it a day. They reunited a group that happened to include a future superstar. And then they bet everything that the trust would do the rest. So far, it has. They are 2 wins from the first New York title in over half a century. And here's the part that should scare the rest of the league. This is repeatable. Every front office just watched a team turn an old college roster into a finals contender. Don't be surprised if the next wave of contenders starts looking less like a fantasy draft and more like a class reunion. New York might have just written the new playbook. Here's the chemistry in a single moment. Watch Brunson and Hart on a fast break. There's no hesitation, no looking, just an instant give and go they've run 1,000 times since they were teenagers. That split second of trust is the difference between a clean bucket and a turnover. And you cannot coach it into strangers. You can only inherit it from a shared past. It also traces back to one system. At Villanova, Jay Wright drilled a very specific brand of basketball. Move the ball, defend with discipline, never panic. So Brunson, Bridges, and Hart didn't just win together. They were taught the same habits, the same values, by the same voice. They walked into New York already speaking one basketball language, while everyone else was still learning the alphabet. Now compare that to the super teams that failed. The league is littered with rosters that stacked huge names and then imploded because the egos never fit and the trust never came. Talent alone doesn't bond people. The Knicks sidestepped that trap entirely by starting with bonds that were already forged. They added talent to chemistry, instead of praying chemistry would show up after the talent. And in a tight playoff series, that's where it pays off most. When the pressure spikes and the offense gets ugly, teams fall back on instinct. Strangers freeze. Old teammates trust each other. So in the exact moments that decide a championship, the Knicks carry a built-in advantage that never shows up in a box score, but absolutely shows up on the scoreboard. And here's the lasting legacy. Win or lose this year, the Villanova Knicks have already changed how smart people talk about building a roster. For decades, the gospel was simple. Collect the most talent, period. New York added a second commandment. Collect talent that already fits. That idea isn't going anywhere now. Front offices will study this team for years. And somewhere out there, a general manager is already scanning old college rosters for the next group of champions who could be reunited. The blueprint is out of the bag. So I'll leave it with you. Is the Villanova blueprint the future of team building? Or did the Knicks just get lucky that one of their college guys turned into a superstar? Tell me where you land down in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to subscribe. We're in a race to 1,000 subscribers, so please join the family.